Alright, so this is the Chapter 4 review. It's the 7th exam review we're doing, so you should have in your notes or in your folder or somewhere in your possession a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6. Here's 7, and then we'll do one additional one this week. That'll be exam review 8. So all of these are in y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Does anyone have any questions 1 through 8? Same setup on 9 and 10. You just have to find m and b before you can write the equation. I don't just give them to you. So m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. The b is always the easiest. Just look at where it hits the y-axis. It hits the y-axis at 6. So b equals 6. Just like yesterday in our Chapter 3 review, the m is the slope, and we find it using rise over run. So here I rise 2, I run 2. That's 2 over 2, and 2 over 2 simplifies to 1 over 1, or just 1. So when I write this equation, I'll have y equals 1x plus 6. Or on the final, I don't actually put things like 1x, because they're not in simplest form. I'll just have y equals x plus 6. Any questions? Alright, next I have number 10. What is my m and my b on number 10? Negative what? Negative 2, right? Negative 2 is the b, and then you count your rise and your run. We're going down, so the rise number is actually negative. So you're going down 1, so negative 1, and then you're going right 3. So it's going to be y equals negative 1 over 3x minus 2. Can everybody read that? That's kind of behind that annoying emblem. Anyone need more time with the first page? Alright, moving right along to the word problems. We're starting with the same equation on the word problems. We have y equals mx plus b. But instead of thinking of the b as the y-intercept, think of the b as your starting number. And the m as the change. So how much is your total changing? So number 11 says Brian is already 60 miles from his house. He drives, does that say 50? 50 miles each hour, even further. So what is the starting number? Read it again if you're not sure. Where does he start? 60 miles away. That's the B. And then every hour his total is going to change 50 miles. So that's the M. That's how you tell the difference. B is where you start, M is how much it's going up or down each time something happens. So each hour. Alright, so number 11a is going to be y equals m, which is 50, x plus the b, which is 60. Now here, y always represents the total. So y is the total number of miles, and x is the number of hours driven. Alright, so on part B, they give us hours. So that's going to go in for the x number. And then when you do the math, that'll give you how far he is after those 3 hours. So I have 50 times 3, that's 150, plus 60. So he is 210 miles from his house. Number 12 is all about renting a car. I rent a car for $150 plus an additional $25 each day that I drive it. So what's the starting number? 150, that's how much you're going to pay no matter how many days you drive it. You start by paying 150. And then 25, that's how much the total is going to change each day that you drive it. So this is going to be y equals 25x plus 150. X is going to be the number of days that you have the car, and then y is almost always the total. So if I keep the car 5 days, you're going to make the x value a 5, and then you're going to do the math. What is 25 times 5? 125 plus 150 gives us 275. And we're talking about dollars, so put a dollar sign in there. There you go. Raise your hand if you have any questions so far on the word problems. There are 2 word problems on the final.
That's it?
That's it? It's actually like 1 word problem, but like the part A and part B, actually. 2 of the 50 questions on your final are like this. If you're curious how it breaks down, the final is 50 multiple choice questions. We did 4 chapters, so that's about 12 or 13 questions per chapter. So as you're going through the reviews, keep that in mind. Like, I should be able to do 12 or 13 different types of questions from this packet. So don't just study like one single type of question from each packet and think you're going to be okay. So Marcus is making necklaces to sell at a craft fair. He has 6 already done, and he plans on making 2 additional necklaces each day. So what number is he starting at? 6. He already has 6. That's our B. Every day his total is changing by how much? 2. That's our M. So y equals 2x plus 6. Okay, apparently Marcus changed his name to Bob. How long will it take for Bob to make 26 necklaces? I don't know, typo. So is 26 the total, or is it the number of days? That's the total. How long will it take him? So we're looking for the number of days. It'll take him to make the total of 26. So 26 goes in for your y, because now we're talking about the total. So this one is a 2-step equation, just like from chapter 2. So this takes a little bit longer to solve. How should I start this one? Subtract 6 from both sides. That's going to be 20 equals 2x. And then what? Divide by 2. Divide by 2. So yes, it takes 10 days to make all these necklaces. Alright, number 14. I have $40 to spend making copies. Each copy costs me 50 cents. So you're starting with how much money? 40. So that's your B. And then you're spending 50. When you're spending money, you should think of that as a negative. So the change is actually making our number go down. So this is going to be negative 0.50x plus 40. So again, if your total is going down, if it's getting smaller each time you do something, your slope, your M number needs to be a negative. Alright, the follow-up question is I like these because it's pretty real life stuff going on here. If you run out of money, so if you run out of money, what's your total? 0. So you're changing the y to a 0 because that's your total in this problem. Alright, and then we just solve for x. So to solve for x, you want to subtract 40 first. 0 minus 40 is negative 40, and that equals negative 0.50x. Divide both sides by that negative 0.50. Type that into your calculator, you actually get a positive 80, so you can make 80 copies before you run out of money. Alright, number 15. I have eaten 500 calories already today. Each snack I eat is additional 50 calories. So I'm starting at 500. Every time I eat, I'm going up by 50. I'm going to separate these a little bit. Alright, so that's going to be y equals 50x plus 500, where the x is the number of snacks and the y is the total calories that you've had. Alright, if you have 3 snacks, what's your new total of calories? So I am going to put the 3 in for the x. When you do that, you get 150 plus 500, that's 650. And what are your questions? No questions? Alright. Moving right along. Next we're talking about parallel lines. Parallel lines have the same slope. So like parallel lines look like this. They go on and on and on forever. They never intersect. The way that happens is that the M, the slope, has to be exactly the same. Like that video we watched, the Guns N' Roses song. You guys remember that? They have the same slope, yeah. Remember? Okay. Same thing. Parallel lines, same slope. So what we're going to do, if we want to write the equation of a line parallel to the given line, we just take the M out and we use the new B. So these go real quick. The same M, the new B. The same M, the new B. Is that a 3 I drew on it?
Yeah.
It's a 5. Alright, the same M. M here is 1. And the new B. Remember, I won't write a lot of 1x's on the final. I'll just write x, okay? So this is what you should be looking for number 18. Alright, number 19, same M. New B. Plus 0 doesn't need to be written. It's not doing anything significant for the problem, so you can forget about it. Number 20, same M. New B. Alright, I did these very quickly because they are super easy. You're just taking the old M, keeping it the same, switching the B up. And the reason these are so easy is because parallel lines have the same slope. When we look at perpendicular lines, it's going to take us a little longer because we actually change the slope a little, but when the slope's the same, when they're parallel, these are super quick. Questions on these? Alright, keep it moving. I think these are the fun ones where you have to actually graph them because then you can visually see, like, yes, I did it right, they're parallel, or like, no, not quite. So the two things we need are M and B. I need to find the M of the line given. So just pick 2 points on the line and figure out the rise over the run. So the 2 points I picked, to go from one to the other, you're going down 1 and right 1. So the M is -1 over 1, which is the same thing as -1. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 1x minus 4. But remember, on the final, since it's multiple choice, I will write it in the simplest form. It will look more like that. I won't write negative 1x. I just write negative x. Now we can graph that, guys. So we start at the b value. We start at the negative 4. Then we use the negative 1 over 1. Remember, it's always better to think of slope as a fraction when you're graphing. So I'm going to go down 1 and right 1. Down 1 and right 1. And then connect them. Raise your hand if you have any questions on parallel lines. So the next page is all about perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines don't have the same slope. Perpendicular lines cross to form right angles. It's like the complete opposite of being parallel. So we want the slopes to be completely opposite. We actually want them to be opposite. Anyone remember that big R word? Reciprocal, yes. I'm like 90% sure that's how to spell reciprocal, so if it's not, I mean, you know what I mean. What is an opposite reciprocal? You have to do two things to make something opposite reciprocals. Change the what? No? We're only talking about slopes, so we're only talking about m. What do you do to the m? Reciprocal means you, you flip the numbers, you flip the fraction, and opposite means you change the sign. So we're going to flip the fraction, we're going to change the sign. That's what it means to be opposite reciprocals. So, check out number 22. I'm going to make a column for the old slope and a column for the new slope. So, what's the old slope on number 22? Negative 1 over 2. So, flip it. 2 over 1, and you change the sign. So, it was negative, now it's positive. So you're going to use this as your m and then the new b that I gave you. So this one is going to be y equals 2 over 1 is the same thing as 2x plus 4. On the final, I won't actually know what work you did or did not do. I'll just know what your final answer is. So the work is really up to you. You are allowed to write on my final. A lot of teachers don't let you write on multiple choice finals, so you will all have your own copy. You can write all over it, but you do need to turn it in with your bubble sheet. Alright, on to number 23. What's the old slope? 3 over 2. So flip it. 2 over 3, and then make it a negative. Right, it was positive, now it's negative. So this is the b, the new slope is the m. Alright, number 24, what is the slope at the moment? What's the old slope? Negative 1 over 1. We'll write it as a whole number. Flip it, change the sign. What's the new slope? Just 1 over 1. Yep. So my equation is y equals 1x. Well, 1x is the same thing as just x, so I'm going to write it as simple as I can. Minus 6. Questions? Alright, again, over here I'm going to make an old slope column. I'm going to make a new slope column, just to keep my work nice and organized. What's the old slope on number 25? Negative 4 over 1. Good, write it as a fraction. What happens when you do the opposite reciprocal? 1 over 4. It was negative, now it's positive. Very good. And then we're going to use the new b. So this is going to be y equals 1 over 4x plus 2. And then number 26, last one in this section, what's the old slope? Okay, what's the new slope? Negative 5 over 3. Just flip it and change the sign. And then we don't have to worry about a b here since b is 0. So it's just y equals negative 5/3 x. So what is the old m of this graph? So pick 2 points. Count the rise and the run. The rise, you're going down, so negative, how many are you going down? And then you're going over 2. The old slope is negative 1 over 2. So the new slope is 2 over 1, which is just the number 2, really. So the equation is y equals 2x, because our new slope is 2. And then the b is also a 2, so plus 2. So this is what we're graphing. If they're perpendicular, I know I did it right. If they're all weird looking, not crossing at a nice right angle, then I need to do something else, okay? So I'm starting at b. The b is 2. I'm going up to right 1. Up to right 1. Get something real straight. Arrows on the ends. Those look perfect. So proud of my work. Questions? Let me go up just a second. Okay, so we are finding the x and y intercepts of each graph. The x-intercept, how do you find the x-intercept? Yeah, that's where it crosses the x. Remember, you have to do a very similar review on your own tomorrow, so it would be in your best interest to make these notes. Where your line crosses the x-axis. What is the y-intercept? Yeah, where it crosses the y-axis. Now, most students are a lot better with y-intercept because y-intercept is the same thing as b, so we've been doing it for months, all right? X-intercept's new, but just as easy. So this is where your line crosses the y-axis. Alright, so on number 28, where are we crossing the x-axis? Any other thoughts? Negative 2. You're crossing the x-axis at negative 2. Where are you crossing the y-axis? Positive 2. Very good. Any questions on those? No. Alright, jump to number 29. What's the x-intercept? You keep looking at the line below the x-intercept. Look where the x is, that line, that's where you're looking at. It's the line above the numbers. I'm pretty sure it's 6. Look on yours, don't look on the board. It's a lot easier to see on the one right in front of you. I think it's a 6, yeah. The axis is above the numbers. So I think you might be looking at the wrong one. It is hard. I'll make sure though on the final it's obvious. I write these with Microsoft Word. It's not really meant as a graphing software, so that's my bad. What's the what's the y-intercept on this one? Negative 2, good. So we'll all just agree it's 6. It's probably actually like 5.75, but we'll go with 6. The y-intercept is -2. All right, is the last one a little better? What's the x-intercept? 4. Oh, were you guys looking at this one instead, maybe? Oh, I see. All right, and the y-intercept? 3. Good. Yeah, the numbering's kind of weird. It goes down. All right, raise your hand if you have questions. All right, we'll finish this off with a graph when you're feeling ready. Anyone not feeling ready?
Yeah, write it right.
Just this one. All right, so what is the x-intercept here? It's 4. So how do I graph an x-intercept of 4? Put a dot on the x-axis at the 4. Very good. How do I do a y-intercept of -7? Same thing. You go down to the 7 on the y-axis, and then you just connect those two. All right, so that is the in-class review for Chapter 4. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you the review that you're going to do independently. We will go over that review on Friday. That'll be it. Okay? So you're only getting one more review. If you're not feeling ready, things you can do are watch old YouTube videos. This is going on YouTube right now. You can go to tutoring. They have tutoring after school in the library. You can make arrangements with me to stay after school and study. Just let me know, because if not, I usually take off as soon as it kind of clears out. Or you guys do have textbooks that we rarely use in here. This stuff is in the textbook. It's not the same section numbers, but if you let me know, I can tell you where exactly to look. So those are kind of the things you can do for help. Any questions?